Good morning, gentlemen. I'm going to today talk to you on a topic which is of tremendous importance, and in particular, this would be an eye opener to Indians who are living in India. And I presume that the BJP leadership led by Narendra Modi will be also paying attention to what I'm going to say. I'm going to talk about Kashmir and basically bring out the fact that the Kashmiri Muslims, in particular the Valley, are not pro-India at all. They have a dislike of India, which is part of a historical process which has started in 1000 AD when Muhammad bin Qasim came, and then after that came the famous warriors, Muhammad al-Ghazni and Ghori and all of them, and it's continued since then. Kashmir at one stage was a Hindu state, but it was converted to Islam by terror tactics and by force. So when we say Kashmir, actually it's not really the entire Kashmir Valley. It's got I would say four distinct portions. One is the Jammu region, which is inhabited mostly by Hindus, and then we have the Ladakh region where we have got Buddhists, and then we have got Gilgit and Baltistan and the Kashmir Valley, which are predominantly Muslim. And as it stands, because of ethnic cleansing, 99.5% of the population of the valley is Muslim. And these people have not really reconciled to the fact that they have no say in Pakistan, and but at the same time they don't want to cast their lot with India. I think before I go further, gentlemen, I'll give you an idea of the historical background of how this happened. When the British left India in 1947, they passed an Act of Parliament which is known as the India Independence Act, which was passed by the British Parliament and approved by the House of Lords. And it had a very important clause which said that those states which were semi-independent of the British rule, like say Kashmir, Hyderabad, Junagadh, so many states, Mysore, Travancore, Tripura, all these states would have an option that either they joined India or they joined Pakistan, that is before 15th August 47, and a grace period was given for about 3 months for them to decide. Independence was not an option. But the Maharaja of Kashmir, his name was Hari Singh, wanted to be independent. He thought he could fool both Nehru and Jinnah, and he applied to the United Nations. At the same time, he carried out a standstill agreement with India and Pakistan. The standstill agreement specified that none of these two countries would take any action till Kashmir decided on its own to join either Pakistan or India. One point we must bear in mind: at that time, when the Maharaja was ruling Kashmir, the majority population was Muslim, and there was a minority population, majority only in Jammu and a little few Buddhists in Ladakh. But the entire Gilgistan, Baltistan, and the Kashmir Valley was Muslim, and their sympathies obviously lay with Pakistan. Nehru, as usual, he was a blind believer in destiny or whatever you call it. He made a first big blunder when he appointed Lord Mountbatten as the first Governor General of India. Now, Mountbatten was nothing but a stooge of the King of England, and he was not a pro-Indian man at all, but he was happy to be the Governor General, and he advised Nehru not to take any action in Kashmir till the Maharaja decides to join India. But Muhammad Ali Jinnah was a very shrewd man. He disregarded the standstill agreement which he had entered into with the Maharaja and ordered the Pakistan army and the invaders to enter Kashmir. There was a big invasion of Kashmir, and within a short time, Baltistan collapsed. The few troops of the Maharaja in Gilgit were all captured and shot dead, including the brigade in charge of the Maharaja's troops. And there was a British major in charge there who carried out all this on behalf of Jinnah. And Jinnah ordered the army, the Pakistan army, as well as the Razakars, who were known as the freedom fighters, the tribals, to invade the valley specifically. And they carried out massive atrocities in the valley, and perhaps they would have overrun the entire valley if they had not stopped at Baramulla to catch the Kashmiri girls and rape them. So they were having their fun in Baramulla while Baramulla was burning, and the Maharaja was sitting and wondering what to do. That crucial moment, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru went to the Governor General and asked him that should we help Kashmir? And the Governor General, as I told you, he was a stooge of the King of England. He said, no, don't do it. Don't do anything till the Maharaja signs on the dotted line. Now look at the discrepancy. The Pakistan army and the tribals have already invaded Kashmir. They have taken over the entire Baltistan region, and they are nearing Srinagar. And here the Governor General is telling the Indian army, don't go there till the Maharaja signs. And Nehru, I'm sorry to say, he led India down very badly by listening to the sermons of the Lord Louis Mountbatten, who was the Governor General. Maybe there was something else involved, because now we know that Nehru had a soft corner for Edwina Mountbatten, and probably he was putting pressure on Nehru. So Nehru kept quiet, and Sardar Patel then went into action. He asked the Indian Chief Secretary, V.P. Menon, to fly down to Srinagar and get the signature of the Maharaja. And V.P. Menon, who had the name in history as the Chief Secretary at that time, flew into Kashmir. Rather, he landed in Srinagar. There was firing going all around, got the signature of the Maharaja, who was very frightened, and came back. That is the time the CNC India at that time, who was a Britisher, ordered the Indian army into Kashmir. And the first batch of the Sikh soldiers of the Sikh ally landed in Srinagar airfield, commanded by Lieutenant Colonel Rai. At that time, it was not known whether the Kashmir airfield is in the hands of the Maharaja or the tribals have already captured it. But they took a risk, and slowly the battle began. General Thamaiya took over command, and then Brigadier Karyappa came in, and they began to push the Pakistanis back. Now the Pakistani regular army came into battle. That was in June of 1948, and the battle began in real earnest, but they were being pushed back because in Rojila the General Thamaiya brought in the tanks, and the Indian army was slowly pushing Pakistan back. That is the time, again, Pandit Nehru went to the Governor General and asked him, what should we do? I fail to understand why he, as the Prime Minister, to go and ask the Governor General what we should do. And the Governor told him to halt the Indian army, don't let them move forward, and you go to the United Nations and get a ceasefire done. In the teeth of the cabinet opposition, Acharya Kripalani and so many others opposed it. Sardar Patel opposed it, but Nehru had his way, and he sent Gopal Swami Iyengar to the United Nations, and they asked for a ceasefire, and the UN very willingly said, okay, let there be a ceasefire. And a ceasefire came into being, with Pakistan in occupation of 40% of Kashmir. That is how, gentlemen, I want to tell you this fact, how Pakistan got this territory free thanks to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. After that, from 1st January 1949, the ceasefire line has been the de facto border between India and Pakistan for the last 78 years. This border has remained as it is, There have been 4 wars fought over this border, but nobody could gain anything, and it has remained like that. At that time, Pandit Nehru made another very, I would say, blunder. He offered at that time in a speech in Srinagar to the people of Kashmir that when the situation is normalized, he said, I'll have a plebiscite here. I wonder what the hell he was talking of, because the majority of the valley was, Kashmir was Muslim, and if you had held a plebiscite, they would all voted for Pakistan. Yet he made that promise. And the UN endorsed it and said that once the Pakistan army withdraws from Kashmir, there will be a plebiscite there. But gentlemen, when Nehru came back, the intelligence chief and the chief of the army told him that you have done a big blunder, because if you hold the election now there, a plebiscite, all the people will vote for Pakistan. Then he didn't know what to do. He was nonplussed, and he then backtracked on his order. And that is how the Kashmir problem further grew up, because Sheikh Abdullah, who that time was made the Prime Minister of Kashmir, and had agreed to join India on the plea that there would be a plebiscite. Actually, Sheikh Abdullah was looking for an independent Kashmir. So Nehru had no choice. Sheikh Abdullah was arrested, removed as the Prime Minister of Kashmir, and a lot of things began to happen, and that is the problem continued from that time till now. The Kashmiri people have all the time felt that they have been betrayed. And because of reasons of religion, they don't want to be with India. I'm not sure that they want to be with Pakistan also, because once Zulfikar Bhutto was hanged, they didn't like what had happened to Bhutto and they became neutral. But they were never pro-India. And the point I want to make is that what was the sentiment in 1947 has continued till 2025. The Kashmiri people are not your friends. I talk of the Muslims. They were never with India, they will never be with India, and they are not with India. Now the latest massacre, as you know, has taken place in the Kashmir Valley. 26 tourists have been shot dead. And it's a very pitiable sight. And I'm afraid action was called for. But historically, as I've told you, Hindus have never reacted strongly to any atrocities. I'll give you an example. In 2000, I think, there was an attack on the Indian Parliament when Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. It was a very, very well planned attack on the Indian Parliament. Many Indian people died. 6 daredevil Mujahideen came. They all died also. The idea was to blow up the Indian Parliament and take the Home Minister as hostage. That means the aim was to capture L.K. Advani. It was a very, very dangerous and audacious plan. And at that time, everybody was angry, and the Indian army was ordered to get ready for attacking Pakistan. I mean, like what is happening now. So the Indian army was moved to the border, and it took them about 3 weeks to put all the troops on the border, and Pakistan was getting scared. The man who was the president of Pakistan at that time was General Musharraf. Musharraf, as you all know, was born in Delhi. He basically was a Muhajir, but he was also frightened at that time that the Indian army may not invade Pakistan. A lot of talks were continuing. The Americans, as usual, playing a double game. And finally, Musharraf said that if there is a war, I will use the atomic bomb. That frightened Vajpayee, and so the invasion of Pakistan was dropped. And let me tell you, gentlemen, during this operation, which was known as Operation Parikrama, the Indian army lost almost 700 soldiers killed. Now you may ask me, how did 700 soldiers die when the army was moving into battle and was not fighting? Now that's an inquiry that should be done, because in the Kargil operation earlier, the dead were only about 450. So in a battle 450 die, and in a non-battle 700 die. I mean, it beats my imagination, but that is precisely what happened. So after 9 to 10 months, the army was called back. Vajpayee said, no, no, it's okay, we'll have peace with Pakistan. And it, unfortunately, the end result was that Pakistan didn't get a lesson. Why? Because the Indian army, though ready to fight, the political leadership lost the nerve to fight. You can imagine the audacious attack if what would have happened if they had captured the Home Minister Advani. Advani at that time they had his full plan. He was coming in a motorcade and he was to enter Parliament from the main south gate. And the Fedian or the Mujahideen were waiting for him there, and the idea was to bombard his ambassador and take Advani as hostage. God saved India that day, and we had unfortunately another very weak Prime Minister like Mr. Vajpayee who didn't know what was happening. And so there you are, gentlemen. This thing has continued, and then you know what happened in '89 when Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister of India. It's unheard of that there was a Hindu government in power, and yet all the Hindus, almost 200,000 of them, were expelled from the valley. They couldn't do a thing. They were told, if you want to take anything with you, take whatever you want and go, but leave your women here. That's what we're saying. Leave your women here. It was a very, very dangerous time. It is so sad at that time that Narasimha Rao lost his nerve. He didn't know what to do. The best thing at that time, the chief of the army staff had told him, you impose martial law in Kashmir. He didn't do it. He didn't have the guts. Now the same thing, gentlemen, is happening again. Just see the same sequence of events. The terrorists have come into the valley, but this time there's a little bit of a difference. Earlier, the terrorists were coming all from Pakistan, but this time it are the local people who have been trained by Pakistan. They had been to Pakistan training camps for terrorists, and these people have entered the valley after training with the Pakistan army, and there are tens of them in the valley. Now, after this massacre took place, the Modi government came out with a statement that I have given free hand to the army. Now, one must ask Modi, what is free hand? What does he mean by free hand to the army? Army on its own cannot launch an attack on Pakistan. But this is just for public consumption, keep the people happy. I have given free hand to the army. What free hand he has given? Is he going to authorize? Has he given the army the authority, the army chief, the chief of defense staff, to mount an invasion on Pakistan? Now, my information is that India has no intention of attacking Pakistan. Now, many may not agree with me, but just watch out. Things will work out that way. The Air Force is not going to bomb any place in Pakistan. Maximum what they will do is they may have one all attack on a Pakistan camp like they did in the Balakot attack, And India makes a big hue and cry that we carried out an attack on a terrorist camp in Balakot. Well, the Air Force did do it, but they were allowed only one attack, and after that they were told, please don't do any more attacks. So the Air Force went away. That one attack was futile because it never stopped the terrorists from their activities in Kashmir. They still continued, Balakot or no Balakot. The army was allowed one foray across the line of control. They went in, a surgical strike came back, and that was the end of it. And this strikes had no meaning because just after Balakot, the Pakistan Air Force next day mounted an attack in Kashmir. That's also a fact. And then in that battle which went on, we had the political leadership. Our leadership is steeped in the Gandhian philosophy of the meek and mild Hindu, because Gandhi's blood, I think, is still continuing and no action is taken. Now, one of the principles of war, which General Clausewitz had laid down, is surprise and speed. These are the two more important principles of war. And these have already been negated. They have wasted 10 days doing nothing in the Kashmir Valley or mounting an attack. The surprise element has gone. And I am told the Pakistan army is now ready. They have dug in their trenches, they have dug in, and they are now ready for battle. And what was the Indian army doing for these 10-15 days? When such a thing happens, you must see what Israel does or what the Americans do. Americans are not supporting India. And I want to know which country in the world has supported India on Kashmir and condemned Pakistan. Not even one other than Israel. And now I'm told, as per the Pakistan radio, that Israeli special troops have come to Srinagar. Probably under their guidance, they may try something. But, gentlemen, it's a very sad state of affairs that I must make out. And you can see the thread which I'm working out is a complete unpreparedness, a complete lack of will of the Indian Army, whether it's 47, 48 or 2026. The same thing continues. Nobody is interested. They are interested, but then you got to struggle. There is to be a struggle. And victory comes to the person who struggles. You remember the invasion of Russia by Hitler? He had 300 divisions mounted for the invasion. But the Russians fought tooth and nail till the very end for 5 years till they defeated the Germans. And Nehru panicked within 3 months. He lost his nerve in 3 months in the last battle in 48. And of course in 65 and 71 the Pakistanis were as strong as the Indians, and though Lahore is just 15 miles away from the border, they couldn't capture Lahore. So to most of the press which I am talking, some very stupid statements are being made by one of the thinking General Munir is in trouble and so he has wet his pants, and it's one shouldn't talk like this nonsense, which got no relevance. The general is heading the Pakistan army and he knows what's doing. Same thing with Musharraf. They got a one-track mind to beat India. Well, what is our track of mind? And now, what is the solution? People will ask me, Captain, what is the solution? You are giving all the criticism. What is the solution, man? Come on, come with the solution. I'll give you the solution. The solution is a change of demographic population in the valley. Now, that's a very important thing, requires a lot of guts, because the Supreme Court will talk all nonsense, the High Court will say something, but we need a man like Bismarck. I wonder if you have heard his name. He gave the policy of blood and iron, and maybe we can follow Subhash Chandra Bose, who gave this slogan, blood and I will give you freedom. He is the greatest Indian. It's a very sad story that he was sidelined by Mahatma Gandhi. I don't know why we call him Mahatma. And unfortunately, he never got his due till Modi put his statue in Vijay Chowk. That's a great honor to him, because Vijay Chowk is the place where the greatest Indian is honored. The Congress wanted to put the statue of Gandhi there or Nehru, but Modi, I will give him credit, put the statue of Subhash Chandra Bose, the greatest Indian man. If you read his life, I have studied in detail. He's a great romantic hero, a great man, one of the greatest Indians of the 20th century. Anyway, gentlemen, I'll make another video on Subhash Bose sometime so that you can understand what exactly he meant, what was his philosophy. But now the time has come that we need a man like him. And Modi is not bad, let me tell you. He has got the guts. He just has to act more, be more stronger. And what is required is trainloads of Indians should be taken to the valley and settled there. That's what the Russians did. That's what the Pakistanis did in East Pakistan when East Pakistan was a part of West Pakistan. The Chakma Hill tribes and the entire Chittagong area, which was populated by Hindus, Hindu tribals, were resettled, and lots of Muslims were settled in there. With the result, the Hindus became a minority. Now let's understand, in the valley the Muslims are just about 2 lakhs. And if you resettle about 3 lakhs Hindus there, that's enough. The whole problem of the valley will be solved. I wonder why Nehru or Shastri or Narasimha Rao didn't think about it earlier. Probably they thought, but they thought that they will be antagonizing the Muslims, so we don't want to antagonize the Muslims. That could be a possibility. But now we have the RSS behind, and I wonder if the RSS chief can watch this video of mine, and take my suggestion. This time that we populated the valley with our own brethren, with people from Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, let them go there and settle down. Even Tamil Nadu, let them go. And initially there will be some problem because the terrorists will try to do something, but there's so few. They can all be hunted and shot dead. That's the only solution, gentlemen. Fighting Pakistan is not an option. Pakistan is equally strong, and India will be able to make no headway. The next option is which is a subsidiary option, is to support the Baluch Liberation Front, the BLA, the Baluch Liberation Army, which is fighting for independence in Baluchistan. And if you remember at the history of Baluchistan, the Nawab of Kalat had acceded to India as per the Indian Reorganization Act, which was passed by the British Parliament, the Indian Independence Act. I've already mentioned about it, where the states were given a chance to join either India or Pakistan, and the Nawab wanted to join India. He sent 2 telegrams to Pandit Nehru, I have opted to join India, please move your Indian army here. And what did Nehru do? I am told he did nothing. History also says he did nothing, and he was sitting with time having probably an evening with Edwina. So if this is the type of leader who led India at that time, I wonder it's not a surprise that we should lead into this situation now. But this has to be rectified. War, as I told you, with Pakistan going to lead nowhere. And we may get a bloody nose also, because the Pakistan army is strongly entrenched. So there are 2 options. One is support the Baluch in their fight for independence and change the demographic profile of the Kashmir Valley. That's got to be done. Well, gentlemen, I hope you like my video. If you like it, please share it with your friends. Give your comments, come back for more. And I will say goodbye. And I'm extremely thankful